Good morning friends, my name is Santosh Bhamure. I am working in Annasaheb Awate college since 1 year ago. So right now today I am going to teach you about new syllabus 2020 regarding English commerce subject economics. So in our life when we think about the economic means wealth of science. So each and every time we face lot of money, lot of wealth. So right now we are discuss about the economic first chapter. That chapter name is Introduction to Micro and Macroeconomics. So before the introduction to micro and macroeconomics, we know about the economic means. Economics means Autulya said that economics means Arthashastra. Artha means wealth and Shastra means science. So in our mind create one thing, what is mean by economics? Economics means wealth of science. So when we study about some specific contents related to property, related to wealth, that means economic. So now we think about the micro and macro. So if we think about the micro and macro, there are two words. That word means small and large. So small and large, there are two contents. First one is, if we think about the tree, there are lot of branches. If we think about the college, there are lot of branches. So if we think about the family, there are lot of students, lot of childs, lot of daughters. So as like economic has two branches. So if we think about the micro and macro, so small and large. So in our mind create one question, why we call them small and why we call them large. So small means if we think about the individual unit, that means small part of the nation. So if we think about the nation, that means whole of the economy. So while we going introduction of micro and economics, we remember one thing, microeconomics and macroeconomics, these are the branches of economics. So in this topic we study about the microeconomics and macroeconomics, meaning, definition and also scope, and there are some contents. So first of all we know about introduction. In an introduction you must remember, you should remember two things. First one is micro and macro. Micro means small and macro means large. So thereafter we know about the where we given that term, where we derive that word. That word derived from the Greek word micros, and that word we derived from the Greek word macros. So before that we know about the micro and macro. These terms were coined into the society by the Sir Ranger Finch. So this is the economics. That economics belongs to Norwegian university. That university, in that university, this economics introduced that term in 1933. So don't forget that point. According to the introduction, we know three things. First one is micros means small and macro means large. Then second thing, micro word we derive from the Greek word micros, and macro word we derive from the Greek word macros. Then we remember third thing. First thing, large, and second thing large and small. Then second thing, micros and macros, and third thing, these terms were coined into the society by Norwegian economics Sir Ranger Finch of Oslo University in 1933. This economics said that if we think about the meaning means what is the meaning of economics, what is the meaning of microeconomics, what is the meaning of macroeconomics. So when we think about the meaning, means what is the meaning of micro and what is the meaning of macro. Before some time ago we remember one thing, micro means small and macro means large. So small means what is the small? Small means if we think about the society. In the society there are two content. First one is individual unit and second one is whole contents. Means if we think about any village, in that village there are lot of cottages. So remember one thing, in that village there are living lot of people. So if we think about the meaning, microeconomics is the small thing, means if we think about the small unit, means small individual unit. Means when we think about the microeconomics is study about the small individual units. As like if we think about the nation, if we think about any country, in that country there are two content. First content is small unit, second content is large unit. In the small unit, all the small units involved in the microeconomics. So that's why in the meaning you should write, you should remember one thing, microeconomics means a small part of economy, and in that point we study about the individual unit. Then second thing, if we think about the macroeconomics, so macro means large. This word we derived from the Greek word macros. So in that point, in that concept, we study about the whole economy. Means if we think about the total investment, if we think about the total economy, total investment, total individual units. So if we think about the all society, all the nations, so when I am going to study about all the nation, total employment, total saving, total investment, all these concepts, all these points involved in the macroeconomics. So if we study about the small unit, so that small unit involved in the microeconomics. When we think about the overall blackboard, so in that blackboard there are some important concepts. Only those content, only those elements, only those points you should remember. First thing is, in an introduction there are three conditions. First one is there are two branches, micro and macro. This word we derived from the Greek word micros and macros. Second thing, this concept introduced in the society means these terms coined into the society by Norwegian economics Sir Ranger Frisch of Oslo University in 1993. Then we think about the definition of economics. So don't forget that point. There are 2 points, microeconomics and macroeconomics. So in 11th standard we have already studied about the definition of microeconomics and macroeconomics. So in the 11th standard we study about the microeconomics and macroeconomics and also economics. So there are a lot of economics. First one is Kautilya, then father of economy, Alfred Marshall, Adam Smith. These are the economists. These economics said there are different types of definition, but in a 12th standard we study about some simple definition. There are a lot of definition, but right now we are discuss about the two economics. First economics means microeconomics. In the microeconomics, Maurice Dobb said that microeconomics is in fact a microscopic study of economics. So all the students know about the microscope. So microscope, what is meant by microscope? In a microscope we should find a small unit. Means if I want to find something in that content, then I am using microscope. As like if we study about the economic in a small content, so before the starting of our lecture we know about the micro means small. Means if we study about the small unit of individual, that all the content involved in the microeconomics. So that's why microeconomics is in fact a microscopic study of economic. Don't forget that point, microscopic study of economic. Then second thing, macroeconomics. In the microeconomics, Professor Carl Shapiro said that macroeconomics deals with the functioning of the economic as a whole. So first of all, you remember one thing, micro and macro, there is only one word differences, that means I, and second thing A, micro and macro. Micro and macro. Micro means small and macro means large. So in a macroeconomics, Professor Carl Shapiro said that microeconomics deals with the functioning of the economy as a whole. Don't forget that point. Whole means entire economic. Whole means total economic. Whole means total employment. Means if we think about the individual unit and the country, individual unit is involved in the microeconomics and all the country total investment, total saving involved in the macroeconomics. Okay, as on last lecture we study about the meaning, definition and introduction of microeconomics and macroeconomics. In that lecture we remembered one thing, microeconomics and macroeconomics. So now we study about the scope of microeconomics. So scope of microeconomics. So micros means small and scope. Scope means demand. So if we think about the microeconomics, microeconomics means study of small units, study of individual units. So what is the demand of individual unit of study of individual unit? So that means scope of microeconomics. So there are 3 points. First point said that theory of product pricing, second theory of factor pricing, and third thing theory of economic welfare. So now I am going to teach you about the first point, theory of product pricing. So remember one thing, in the society there are lot of commodity, there are lot of article. So when we think about the commodity, so these are the commodity, these are the article. If I want to produce that article, then if we think about the microeconomics, so microeconomics is the study of small part. So these are the pen, if we consider all the parts, then these are the small parts. So if we study about the small parts, so there are 3 points. First point is theory of product pricing. So product means elements, product means commodities. So if we remember commodity, so commodity has a required 2 things. First one is demand and second one is supply. So in our mind create one thing, what is the relation of production, demand and supply. So each and every businessman has produced all the elements, all the article for satisfaction of consumer, for increasing the profit. So all the concept related to demand and supply. Demand means requirement of a consumer, and supply means flow of a production. If in the society there are lot of demand, there are lot of requirement, so definitely businessman has produced lot of article, lot of thing. So if we think about the scope of microeconomics, in the microeconomics we should study about the small parts of a production, otherwise small part of a article, otherwise small part of a commodity. So there is the first point, scope of microeconomics. There is the first point, theory of product pricing, means product, any element. If I want to show the rate of element, I want to show the satisfaction of a product, then there are 2 points. First one is demand and second one is supply. Means if any businessman want to produce anything, then that businessman first of all focus 2 points. That point means demand and supply. Means if I am a teacher, I have required a pen, so this is my demand. But if any businessman want to make a profit, then that businessman has a produced pen, that means supply, flow of production. And demand means I have required a pen. Means if I am a teacher, I have required a pen. If I am a student, I have required a book. This is my demand. And second thing, supply, means if who's one produce that book, who's one produce that pen, that means supply. Second thing, theory of factor pricing. So factor means element, means if I want to produce anything, then that thing has required some factor. As like if we think about the college, in the college there are a lot of elements. So if I want to make a pen, then not only instrument, not only any machine make that pen. So if I want to make a pen, then that pen, for making a pen there are lot of elements, lot of factor. That factor means rent. Means if I want to start any business, I want to start any factory, then I have to require some factor. That factor means rent. Means if I have no building, then first of all I am going to take a building for rent basis. Then wages, means if I want to produce anything, on that point I have to require a worker, and on that worker mostly I provided wages. Means all the thing is related to maximum satisfaction of a consumer, but without that content, without that factor, we cannot produce anything. Means if I want to produce anything, that time there are 4 contents. So first of all we focus on a microeconomics. Micros means small, and economics means wealth of science. So remember one thing, theory of factor pricing. So there are 4 factors. First one is rent, second one is wages, third one is interest, and next one is profit. Means if any businessman want to start any business, that time that businessman first of all focus over all contents, means maximum satisfaction of consumer. Means remember one thing, product pricing and factor pricing. There are 2 terms. Product pricing is related to demand and supply. Means if any person want to remember all the content, want to remember all the concept, want to remember some important point, so in the scope of microeconomics there are some important point. In the first point there are two words, that means demand and supply. Demand means requirement and supply means flow of production. Then factor means without that thing we cannot produce anything. But remember one thing, this production is related to all the contents. So first of all, rent, wages, interest and profit. Then we think about the third point. Third point said that theory of economic welfare. So when we think about that point, in that point there is a one word that means welfare. Welfare means favor of that person, favor of that society, favor of that thing, means theory of economic welfare. Welfare means for that person, for that thing. So in that point there are 3 points, but don't forget allocation of resources. Means maximum satisfaction of consumer. For that we produce lot of article, lot of commodities. Means if I want to produce anything, so first of all I know about the resources. Means if I want to take a water, then there are different types of resources. So allocation means distribution, and resources means those things available by naturally. So all the contents, those contents available, if I am using that content, that means allocation of resources. First of all, distribution of all resources. So when we think about the allocation of resources, there are 3 points. So efficiency in production, efficiency in consumption and overall economic efficiency. So in that point there is one word, that word means efficiency. So while study of this point, we know about the what is mean by efficiency. Efficiency means capacity of a worker, capacity of that content, capacity of that item. So in the 3 points we know about the efficiency, capacity. So efficiency in production. Production means if any person want to make anything, means that person making something, that means production, means create an article, create a commodity. So in the first point, efficiency in production. So when we think about the efficiency in production, in that point we know about the producing maximum possible amounts of goods and services. So remember one thing, goods and services, articles and services. So producing maximum possible amount of goods and services. So in the microeconomics we study about the small point. In the small point we produce something, those content, those elements, those article is required on that field. So means I am a teacher. If I am studying, I am a student, then I have required a book. If I am a teacher, I have required a chalk. Means production maximum possible amounts of goods and services. So if we think about the college, in the college there are required chalks. That means producing maximum possible amount of goods and services. Goods and services, if I am a teacher, I have a chalk. That chalk, using that chalk, I am providing some lectures. Then second thing, efficiency in consumption. Consumption means usable, used thing, means efficiency in consumption. Consumption means if I am a teacher, I have required a chalk, but using that chalk, I am writing something. That means consumption. First of all, know about the production. Production has a requiring thing, but consumption means usable thing. Means if I am person, I have required a water. That means if I am drinking water, that consumption. So consumption means distribution of produced goods and services. First of all, we know in the first point, we produce some content, we produce some goods. So in the second thing, all the goods we distributed in different types of area. Means remember one thing, if in the college there are required different types of content, if in the village there are different types of content. So as like in a first point we produce something, and in the second point all the content, those content we produce, those content we distributed from the society. That means production maximum possible amounts of goods and services. So if in any area has required some content, so according to that content, according to that area, we produce something, that means efficiency in production, and second thing efficiency in consumption, means all that area, all that field, all that contents has required something, and if that person, if that society use that thing, that means consumption. And third thing, overall economic and efficiency. So in the first point we produce, second point we distributed, and third point production of goods and services which are most important. Don't forget that point. Important means valuable, important means impactable, means if any person, if that person has required a car, then that person has also required a money. That means overall economic efficiency, means production of goods and services which are most important. Means if any farmer, first of all, farmer growing some crops in their farm. Second thing, if all the working condition is completed, then that farmer distributed all the growing crops to society. And third thing, first of all, that farmer find out where are required all the content, then that farmer provided that content to that area. That means production of goods and services which are most important. Means if I am going to speak anything, then first of all I have required a mic if there is a lot of people. If that there is a one person, if there is a one child, if there is a one person, then I don't require any mic. But if there is a lot of crowd, if there is a lot of people, then I must require a mic. That means which are most important. Means if I am working any place, that time I had to require some content. That content means overall economic efficiency. So in this point we study about three content. First of all, scope of microeconomics, theory of product pricing, theory of factor pricing, and theory of economic welfare. So remember one thing, all the blackboards you should remember some concept. In the first concept, theory of product pricing, you should remember demand and supply. Second thing, rent, wages, interest and profit. And third thing, efficiency in production, efficiency in consumption, and overall economic efficiency.